welcome to the Fantasy Football Week 3 recap. I'm going to make this a lot quicker than last week because I don't feel good. I actually have a little fever all day. I don't think it's COVID because Autumn got tested the other day and she was sick first. I think I caught whatever she had and she was negative, so I didn't go get tested. In fact, I'm going to a concert tonight. So we're going to do this quick and I don't know. So I'm going to try to make it quick. Last week was an hour. I couldn't believe I managed to talk that much without having a drink, I don't think. So let's make this quick. So your week 3 matchups, after getting the biggest blowout loss last week for me, I had the highest score this week. Highest team, 152.44, beating Bill 152 to 126. Brandon 1-2 start after starting off 1-0, just like me. Brandon lost 2 in a row to Colby. Well, one lost to Colby, and looks like Colby got his first win finally, and he's been like scoring the most out of the winless teams before this week. Both of his losses were like almost less than 5 or 10 points each, and he was like high points every time and still lost. So that 0-2 start really looked worse than it really was. Terrell winning 2 in a row, I think. Yeah, because I'd faced him the first week and won, so he lost 2 weeks in a row. For Terrell winning 141 to 111 over Dylan. Dylan suffering his first loss. Zach going to 2-1, winning 113 to 93 against Matt Fisher, who still has yet to win. In fact, yet to score 100 points a game. Has yet to score 100 points in a game in a week. Crazy. With the pretty stacked team he's got, they haven't been performing for some reason. He's been changing around, trying to get things to work, but so far it hasn't worked. But it looks like I think that is his highest score. So that's something. I don't know who he's facing this week. We'll find out later. Andrew going undefeated, staying undefeated, I should say. 125 to 82 victory over Gary. Gary took another blow with, I think, somebody getting hurt. He had Tua out in the first quarter last week, hurt him. He had another player, I think, come out in the first quarter this week, if I remember. So, tough blow 2 weeks in a row, losing a player in the very start, like towards the beginning of the game, and not getting those points. After Caitlin's dominating win last week, scoring 180-something, I think it was 181 against me, figures I would have beat her this week if I was facing her this week. I faced her on the wrong week, is what the problem was. I would have beat her. But unfortunately, I picked the wrong week to face her, when she scored the highest points of the entire season so far for 3 weeks, beating my dad 131 to 114. And there's your standings at the bottom so far, as we move from 6th up to 3rd place in the standings. That 152 points for the week helped me move ahead of Zach, because obviously the tiebreaker goes by points 4, and scoring the most helped me jump over Zach there. Otherwise I would have been 4th. 3 points better. Caitlin, though, 440 to 384 outscoring her opponents. Most of that's me. Most of that gap is me. But one undefeated team left, 3-0. And then we have 5 at 2-1. Caitlin, Wesley, Zach, Terrell, and Dylan. And then 5 teams at 1-2. After the promising 1-0 start for Bill, losing 2 in a row. And Colby finally winning 1 to get to 1-2. And then Keith, Brandon, and Gary all at 1-2. And then at the bottom, Matt Fisher, 0-3, the only winless team. So only 1 undefeated and 1 winless team left. All the rest are in between. It's a lot of in between there. So, and your Thursday night game this coming week is Jacksonville, Cincinnati. So, I will show you some transactions also. I could show you that right now real quick because, oh, whoops, I thought I had this ready, but I didn't. I'm trying to pick up Joe Burrow. I have an empty spot on my roster, so I'm trying to pick up Joe Burrow for this week, as I only have one quarterback right now, because Ryan Fitzpatrick has been out since week 1, but he's been on the bench anyway for me so far. So, we're trying to pick up Joe Burrow, and he plays Thursday, so hopefully it can go in effect as quick as possible so I can put him in the game. So I would rather play him this week. They're facing Jacksonville, rather than playing Jalen Hurts this week, who's facing Kansas City. So, that's that. But here's some transactions all for this past weekend here. Jesus, that's a lot of transactions. There's my trade. So that was the last thing we saw. All this happened after, leading up to this week. Caitlin dropping Pascal and picking up Marvin Jones. Brandon dropping Joe. Oh, Brandon was the one that dropped Joe Burrow and picked up Teddy Bridgewater. How about that? So Brandon was the one that let Joe Burrow go. So I picked him up. Well, hopefully we'll pick him up here. I believe because of the ones on the IR and free up a spot, you have to go through a waiver. You can't just trade a free agent. It's not like trading a free agent because it's an extra, pretty much like an extra spot because my one player has on the IR. I don't know how that works. I'm not exactly 100% sure. Brandon also dropped Robbie Gould and picked up Daniel Carlson, and also dropped Gainwell and picked up the Carolina defense. Probably a good pick right there, the Carolina defense. Matt Fisher picked up Cephas as a free agent and Latavius Murray as a free agent. Picked up 2 free agents. Jeez. Without dropping anybody? How'd that happen? Does he have 2 IR maybe? And then Caitlin picked up Patterson off the free agents list. Gary dropped Tua and dropped Badgley before the week started because Badgley has been cut from the Titans and Tua was hurt last week. He picked up Ben Roethlisberger, but then again dropped him to pick up Jared Goff up here. A lot of this is Gary here. Picked up Chase McLaughlin as well from Cleveland, the kicker from Cleveland. And let's see. Caitlin picked up Trey Sermon. And then Caitlin also dropped Jason Myers and picked up Kenyon Drake. And then Dad dropped Radar, picked up Ben Roethlisberger. And dropped Deontay Johnson. And picked up Rondell Moore. And Matt picked up, or dropped Ronald Jones II. So a lot of transactions leading up to this past week. Actually, that one was yesterday. So that was still before Monday Night Football. That was 4 a.m. yesterday. So that was probably, I don't know. Well, that's all leading up to the week we just did. So let's go through the recap of each game here. As Wesley's winners taking home the win over Bill. Coming down to the final game. We both had players from Monday Night Football, so it was fun to watch. We both had players left. He had 2, and I had 1. As we look here, I had, what the heck? Who the heck played the other day? Oh, Jalen Hurts. I had Jalen Hurts last night. He did pick up 23.5. He started off very slow, but did actually pick up his projected points. So that's all I needed to help me win there. The original projection was very close, both on the 143 mark. But my players actually came through this week, unlike last week when we got dominated by Caitlin there. Josh Allen was killing me on Sunday. 38.2 points. He had 5 touchdowns, 4 passing and 1 rushing touchdown. 358 passing yards. He was absolutely killing me that day. But I had Jalen Hurts last night, and Bill had Lamb, and he had Zerline, the Dallas kicker, which made 5 extra points. Got 5 points out of that. And Lamb had 10.5. So he had 2 players yesterday, and I only had 1. I had a 14-point lead, I think, going into it. So I was still projected to win, but he still had those 2 players, so that anything could have happened there. I'm just glad they held Lamb, because Lamb started off with like 6 points right in the first quarter. So it was, it could have been a good day for Lamb if they kept it up, but they luckily kept them below 11 points and helped me win. Although Jalen Hurts was very low at that time too. He took him a long time to get going. I don't think he had double digits by the halftime. So, yeah, that one definitely made a difference when Hurts started coming around at the end and helping me get a big gap again and helping me seal the win here in week 3. 152 to 126 over Bill. And you see the bench players. Now, I would have lost by far if he had Jamar Chase and Williams in. If he had both of them in instead of Lamb and Schuster, that right there would have beat me. If he had, and those are the two he actually moved around before the week started too. He actually benched Chase and Williams and put in Lamb and Schuster for this week, and it hurt him big time there because that would have been the high score of the week right there for sure if he had those two in. Because you look at Williams is almost 30 points higher than Schuster, and Chase is 12 points higher, so that's 42 points. He would have had about 168. He would have had the highest of the week by far. He would have had 168 and would have won if he had those two players in. So that's the tough decision, is trying to see who you want to put on the bench and who you want to start, because you never know until the game starts, and obviously it's all locked in by then, so it's a gamble you got to take. I mean, my bench was fairly low, so I didn't really lose much. The only difference I can think of to help my score up a little higher would be have more in one of the receiver spots and one of these taken out. I could have had more in here, would have been 15 points higher, and then could have had this 13.2 here. That would have brought my score a little higher, because he was higher than both of the two in here, and since this is the flex spot, I could have used the higher running back here, because both running backs had higher, but that would have been higher for the flex spot compared to these two. So it would have jumped my score up a little bit more if I had those two in. Actually, Williams also 14.7 would have been even another point better actually in the flex spot. So because they're both running backs on the bench were actually worse than the two I had in the game, but like I said, with this, they both had a higher number than both the receivers. So if I had this receiver in an actual receiver spot and had one of these in the flex, it would have got me more points. But other than that, not a bad, still not a bad score. Highest score of the week after getting dominated by the worst margin of the entire season last week. It feels good to score 152 points. Just sucks I could have beat Caitlin this week if I faced her this week. Unfortunately, I had to pick last week to face her when Henry had, I think, 51 points last week, and that was before the trade went in effect, so she still had Henry against me. But that wasn't all, though. I would have lost, I think, regardless. I think we figured it out. I think I would have lost regardless of all the moves I could have thought of. Like, all her players were killing me last week. All right, again, I don't want to go too far here, to take too long, so we're going to move around on the next one. Brandon's Baddies. He put the 1 week he benches Tannehill and puts in Bridgewater because he's going against the Jets, and Bridgewater only getting 11.8. They did win 26-0, so he did what he had to do to win the game, but because they had such a big lead, I don't think they really used Bridgewater for passing as much later on in the game. That's probably why he doesn't have as much points. But he only got 11.8. Tannehill had 23.4. That would have been a 12-point difference. So he would have been at 113. Still a big gap, but if he had Cooks in instead of Hill, that would have been another 11. So we would be at 124. And actually, if he had Hines in instead of Diggs, that would have been another 6. I forgot what number I'm at now. Shoot. 113, 124, 130. Oh, my God. It would have been very close. Let's put it that way. But Colby had Russell Wilson only scoring 16. He was under the projected. Allen with 19. He got his projected, but Hill and Diggs were both under the projected points, and so was Hawkinson. That was a tough one there. So that hurt Brandon and Shepard. They all hurt Brandon there. All those pretty under. And, well, obviously Bridgewater too. So a lot of under projected because he was still projected to lose, but only by 6. And if he got his projected score, he would have won because Colby was still 18 under his projected. So close on paper, but ended up a little bit farther apart. Alvin Kamara had 20.8, Eckler with 22.7, Kittle 17.10. He had a lot of double digits, so that helped him a lot. By the way, real quick, I just thought I actually had the highest defense score this week. Right here, 27, and he only had Tampa Bay with 2, so that was a big difference in the win as well this week. The Saints holding New England to 13 and got 3 picks and a defensive touchdown and 6 tackles for loss for New Orleans defense. Really helped me propel in that game. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay's defense gave up 34 points and really hurt him. So that was a big difference in our game as well, is that defense. I had the highest scoring defense in the league, at least of the ones that were starting. But actually, I think I had the highest overall anyway. But Brandon had a 15. That was actually one of the higher ones this week. Some defenses weren't as high this week as last week. So let's move on to the third game. Terrell's terrific team, 141-111 over Dillon, giving Dillon his first loss by 30 points. Dak Prescott 21.12. After that 41-21 win last night, only scoring 21.12. Jefferson 26.8. Like Terrell's team did very well until you get down to the tight end with only scoring 1.6, and then Harrison Butker with only 6. And the San Francisco defense only scoring 4. But like I said, a lot of defenses actually weren't that high of a score this week. Mine was literally one of the highest by far. I think the next highest was the 15 by Brandon. So it was a big difference. A lot of defenses were very low double digits or single digits even. Chicago scoring 13 for the defense. Patrick Mahomes 24.9. He also had Evans 18.6 and Thielen 17. So he had a good top 3 there. But then get down to a lot of single digits in a row here that hurt Dillon way under the projected on all 4 of them. They were the only 4 really. Yeah, they were the only 4. Well, Mahomes was 2 under, but that's not that big of a deal. And even the benches aren't, 100%. And actually, Cousins on the bench for Terrell scored more than Prescott did in that game. But had a couple a receiver and a running back scoring double digits, but all his in those spots were higher than them too. Anyway, I take that back. Boyd was actually higher than McLaren, but anyway, Terrell winning 141-111. And Zach winning 113, scoring a low 113 this week, but still enough to win. It was almost 20 points below the projected. And again, Matthew Fisher's team, unfortunately, 30 points below the projected. They have not gotten over the projected points yet. And not only have they not gotten over it, they're way under every week. And Darnold actually scored 25.6, but look on the bench, he had Herbert with a 31. And there's your Arizona defense he had. If he had Arizona's defense in, he would have had 26, which is 1 point less than me. But it's on the bench. So, again, the 2 defenses in this game as well, or in this matchup, were 13 and 8, so not really that high compared to my 27. But yeah, there was even some low scores on Zach's side, like the running back, Williams, only with 2, and the tight end only with 3.5. and a wide receiver with only 7. So there are some spots that you can really rack up points, and he was low on all of them. But if you look to the other side, 6 spots under double digits. So all under projected. The entire bottom 6 were all under the projected score for them for each. Andrews 16.9 tight end would have been way better than Engerman. Would have had 14 more points, which actually would have put him at 107. That would have put him really close. And Herbert in, and if he had Herbert in instead of Sam Darnold, that's 6 points right there, which would have been, what did I say? It was 107. 6 points, 113. It would have been almost right on the button if he had Herbert and Andrews in. It would have been almost a dead tie. That's close. But there's that one. 4 down, 2 to go through. Andrew's awesome team staying undefeated against Gary. Gronkowski's questionable? Oh, no, that's what it was this week. Washington's defense scoring -1 killed Gary there. And even on the other side, Pittsburgh's defense only scoring 4. They're one of the best defenses and had the 75-game sack streak going that came to an end this week. They did not get that sack. They did not have TJ Watt playing. So that I think that hurt the whole Pittsburgh defense right there. And because TJ Watt was the one that got the sack the week before to keep it going to 75. But it ends at 75. It's still going to be a very tough one to beat. I do not know what the next active streak is for consecutive games with at least 1 sack in regular season. I'm not sure what the next active streak is going right now. But Matthew Stafford scoring 32.5, but then Robinson scoring only 4. So that offset that. And then Kupp again with another crazy week, scoring 30 points. He had a big week last week against Bill, I think, scoring like 38 or something like that. And then just look down through who else we got. Barkley on Gary's side scoring 21.4 though. And Jared Goff had a bad day, so that was also way under. Cooper was way under, so he only was able to score 82. But even if Gary got his projected score, he wouldn't have beat Andrew there. Andrew, very, very solid team at 3-0. The only 3-0 team left. They both have a player with 0. He's got Edwards on the IR. Andrew does. So one player that's out. But move on to the final one. I thought I had this all set up already. And my dad had a nice... He started off 1-0, but lost 2 in a row. Caitlin, after defeating Wesley last week, beats my dad now. Or defeating me, and now my dad this week. Oh, he was the one that had the injured player. A.J. Brown came out of the game, I think, really early and only scored 0.3 points. So he lost that part right there. So Kyler Murray scoring only 19.5. I say only. That's not a bad score, but Kyler Murray's been like in the 30s, I think, the first 2 weeks. So it looks a lot lower. Brady scoring 28 somehow because he had a low score for most of the game, but I think he scored 2 touchdowns. I mean, the Rams had a game locked up, but they ended up still letting Tom Brady score a touchdown. So hurt him in fantasy because he ended up scoring another touchdown for Caitlin there. Ridley and Godwin had pretty decent scores. Well, Ridley was still under, but McCaffrey for Caitlin, though, got hurt early on Thursday Night Football against Houston. McCaffrey came out of the game. I think he's going to miss a couple weeks. So I traded McCaffrey at the right time, got Derrick Henry. That was actually, I called that during the draft stream, that everybody was Like, you didn't want McCaffrey? I'm like, no, I did not. I wanted Henry. And I remember Colby saying, I would have taken McCaffrey any day. I'm like, I mean, I'm not saying he's not good. He's definitely one of the higher, fantasy. But from the last few years, I always remember McCaffrey getting hurt and not playing the whole year. So that alone was the reason I did not want McCaffrey. And that's why I was pissed when the whole draft started without me there. And it picked McCaffrey for me. I was so mad because I didn't want him. And that's the reason I didn't want him is because of his injuries and stuff. So that's why I wanted Henry. And did I call that before the season even started? And I made the trade at the right time. Brown and Drake on both sides there, not even scoring double digits in the running back position. So Caitlin's running backs are struggling, but still was enough to win this week. I'm sorry. I didn't realize my dad's defense of Cleveland scored 25. So there was another 20-plus defense starting last week. I had the 27 with the Saints, and he had 25 points with Cleveland. So, and Caitlin's Buffalo defense scoring 13. So, Harris only scoring 3 really hurt Dad there. But if you look at the bench, too, he had Roethlisberger and Mayfield both scoring double digits, but they were still under Murray anyway, so that wouldn't have really hurt or helped them any bit at all. Caitlin, on the other hand, had some pretty good players on the bench, but Christian Kirk could have been in. Well, I mean, only 5 points more than Jones Jr. in the flex position. But there's that, at least. So that covers all of your stats there for each week, or the whole week there. And this is something, they're both the same thing. Shoot. There was something else I noticed that I was kind of going to look through, and I don't remember what it was. Last week's recap. I don't know if I can view everybody's box score. What does that look like? Oh, that's just that. But this is the recap. 2-1. That's what the graph looks like. It tells, yeah, because I had 20 points on Thursday, because I had, who did I have in there for Thursday? For the Panthers there. DJ Moore, so that helped getting 20 points on Thursday night. Here's top player comparison. So there's that, and percent of total points. Josh Allen scoring the most points for percentage points for Bills team, and Najee Harris scoring 18% for me. So Najee Harris had a hell of a week, 28 points. Had more than Henry, actually, and Henry had 113 rushing yards. But Harris had 102 reception yards, so that helped him go up as well. But Henry scoring right around his projected points, so was able to do something. And so real quick, let's recover next week as the results and the schedule for week 4 look like this. Wesley and myself going against Andrew and the only undefeated team left. Brandon going against 2-1 Terrell. I am projected to win as of right now. I didn't do my movements or nothing yet. I'm sure nobody really did. But let's see. Brandon is projected to lose by 3, but that's very close. Projected doesn't always mean anything. I'm projected to only win by 4. A lot of close matchups. Zach over Gary, 133 to 120, which ain't too bad for the team Gary has, 120. They just got to live up to it. And Colby, 150 projected over my dad. He's facing my dad this week. Matt Fisher going against Caitlin. Oh, boy. That is husband and wife right there. And Bill going against Dylan. So Bill projected to win this week. I have the highest projected score this week, if I can speak English. I have the highest projected score this week, coming off of the week I scored the highest in, officially. So we'll see how that goes. The biggest blowout of the week was Andrew beating Gary by 42 points. And then here's your week 4 schedule. Jacksonville and Cincinnati Thursday night. And then Sunday, Washington, Atlanta, Houston and Buffalo, Detroit and Chicago, Carolina and Dallas. That should be a very good game. Indianapolis, Miami, Cleveland, Minnesota, Giants and the Saints. Hey. Hold on. And then the Titans facing the Jets. I hope the Titans should be able to win that one. Should have no excuse. Henry should have a really crazy breakout game, I think, with the Jets defense. I think he can run all over them. Kansas City and Eagles, Cardinals and Rams, 49ers and Seahawks, Ravens and Broncos, and the Steelers and Green Bay have a 4 o'clock game. 4 o'clock games again this week. Sunday night, though, how about that? That should be interesting. Tom Brady coming back to New England, in New England, to face against the Patriots, which leads me to think he's beaten every team in the league except for the Patriots, hasn't he? So, that would make him beat every team in the league if he beats the Patriots. So that should be a heck of a matchup. Belichick going against Tom Brady on Sunday Night Football. I don't even like Brady, and I don't like the Patriots. I don't even know who to root for in that game, to be honest with you. But it should be interesting to watch. I want to see if Tom Brady gets booed when he comes back to New England. That's what I want to see. And then the Raiders and Chargers on Monday night. So, that will do it for this week of fantasy football recap of week 3. We will see you next week for the week 4 recap. Hopefully, I'll be 3-1 by then, facing Andrew. And in order to do that, I have to give Andrew his first loss, and then I could be tied atop the leaderboard in record if I can beat Andrew. Of course, it would bring a lot of other teams probably. Well, you know what? The way this falls, actually, all the 2-1 teams, there's no 2-1 teams facing each other. So it's not a guaranteed 3-1. So each 2-1 team can lose. So if I end up winning, there can literally be only 2 3-1 teams. If I win and Andrew loses, we'll both be 3-1, and that includes all the 2-1, all the other 2-1 teams losing. But I don't see Caitlin losing this week. Now Dylan, on the other hand, possibly can lose this week. Zach isn't. I mean, that one's probably going to be Zach winning, but you never know. And then Terrell and Brandon is going to be a very close one. So if Brandon can beat Terrell, there might only be 3 3-1 teams after that if I win. I mean, I am projected to win, but again, doesn't mean anything. So we'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll see me at 3-1, tied atop the leaderboard, and Andrew will be taken down from the undefeateds. Hopefully. We'll see what happens. See you next week in week 4. Enjoy your week.